Man. Okay, compost tour. Kitchen scraps. I also put some of those wood pellets in there. Helps to keep the liquids down. Bunny poo scraps. Oh. And here's my compost bin. I have this in a barn that we used to keep animals in, but we don't have animals anymore. So, yeah. Fun. Alright. You're hanging from the ceiling. Alright, so I figured I need to harvest some compost. It's not too bad. Most of the veggie scraps are gone from this side. I put everything in 3 parts, so I'll put stuff in here, then I'll put stuff in the middle, and then I'll put stuff at the other end. Just kind of gives everything time, so I'm not digging in last week's compost scraps. Getting rid of the big straw chunks right here. And some of the bigger pieces. I compost pretty much anything. If it came out of a living organism, it kind of goes into my compost bin. A lot of people say, don't put meat, don't put dairy. Yeah, basically if I don't feed it to the dogs, it can go in my compost bin. So there's eggshells. We tend to run pretty calcium deficient. We're in a clay, so we have really acid soil. But I don't know why we're always calcium deficient. Just when I just saw a bug. A bug. Anyway. Alright. Peeling off all these big chunks. Yeah. See this clump of fluffy stuff. Yeah, you can see that. I think that probably came out of my grooming my cats. I don't know what this is. Plastic. Fun. Yeah, sometimes the compost isn't super clean. So I have some goals with this compost today. Time to side dress my asparagus. It isn't coming up yet, so now's a good time to trim off last year's fronds, because it looks kind of like a big fern, like a big fluffy fern. Compost smells pretty good. It's really sweet. It smells a little bitter. I wouldn't say sour, I'd say bitter. This is some cardboard, so that's compostable. And keep that in there. Other things that I add to my compost are, if you can see this, this is a peat pot. You know those little discs that you put in water and then you put your seed in the middle of them. I got some plants from a friend. They didn't all survive, or you cut open the peat pot so that it can spread its roots out a little bit more, the little seedlings. And then you end up with all these little peat pots. So basically I dump out my old pots, so that's a lot of peat. It's a pretty neutral carbon. It's not super renewable because the peat bogs are ancient. Kind of like cutting down old growth forests. Not really something I go for, but I'm not going to knock other people, especially when the plants were free. Yay for free plants. Alright, so now I've got a bucket full of compost. Time to put my compost into this bin. Alright, so I've got most of the big stuff. Let's see if we can show it. All that fluffy stuff is all the straw that I've been scrounging over. And for me, the way I do my compost is then I pull over some of this looser stuff. Compost. There's still little bits of uncomposted food. The what are they called? Avocado shells, peels, avocado peels. They don't break down very fast, but they get really brittle, so. Alright. Compost bin number 1. Oof. That got moldy fast. I got some lemons with the intent of having lemon water. Yeah, that's good enough. And they got really moldy, and they like left mold. So I'll probably give this a rinse out with a garden hose before I bring it inside. And then I put some of those wood bedding chips, like horse people use in their stalls, down in the bottom. It's part of what's stuck down there is just horse bedding chips, little pieces of wood sawdust. Kind of helps keep the moisture down. Definitely helps keep the stink down. Dun, 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 dun. I got some strawberries from the, whew, look at that. That's so much moldy. That's a lemon right there. Anyway, the lemons died really fast. The strawberries died really fast. I don't know if I just have bad luck of buying stuff at this particular grocery store. If I go on the wrong day, like they get their produce exactly 6 days before I go in there, I don't know what's going on. But, so, this is the bin that I put all of the rabbit litter in. It's heavy. So, oh no, ow. There we go. Ew. Smells kind of like pee. In old buildings, it smells like old building. I think it's because of the wood. Wood chips. Yep, much better. There we go. So then what I do to help get my compost going pretty quick is you break up the big chunks. And then give it a spreading of the little stuff compost, like the loose. And just kind of turn it in a little bit. That way it's got better contact with microbes. There's a clump of hair. And then cover it over. Like I was saying, I compost almost everything. Sometimes I even, if I've got room in my compost bucket, it's the smaller bucket is what I keep in my kitchen. I will even add my hair. Okay. Okay. So I'm kind of gonna fluff the other end of my compost bin. This is where I added compost last time. Looks like there's, what is that? Onions? Do I have onions go bad on me? No, that's a grapefruit. Oops. I'm watching what I'm doing, not watching the camera. Alright. So, I just kind of, when I come in, I fluff the stuff that I added last time, because oxygen helps. Alright, now, time to go back out to the garden. So, this is the garden. It's not my place. I live on a farm. My aunt and uncle have. But I grew up here, so it's kind of, I feel comfortable, but it's not my place to be able to move things around and really edit things too much. This is the potato bed. It frequently becomes the place where everything gets thrown. Then in the spring we'll clean up all those bamboo poles and probably pull out that, whatever plant that is, and tidy it off, and then put straw over the top of it. This is just a random bed. It has some onions, come back every year. That's some kale that overwintered. This is, I forget what plant this is. It's edible. It's I believe a vitamin C and something else. It's one of those spring plants that the pioneers ate. More kale. More, that's one that didn't overwinter very well. More kale, more kale. A purple kale and a green kale. This is the big part of the garden. What did I step on? Durian fruit hole. Those are, I don't remember. I think collards, maybe. Wow, can you hear that? Sounds like worms underneath the soil. That's really cool. This is, I think this is an old collared plant. All of that goes over there to the middle. This is a newer collared plant. This little broccoli tip. It's about ready to have flowers in the next couple weeks. There's another batch of flowers up there. Raspberry patch, which is raspberries and blackberries. Blackberries get beaten down every year just because we're in the Pacific Northwest. Blackberries are a terrible weed here. They're good where you want them. Yeah, this is all a clump of raspberry canes here. And it comes all the way out to here. And then another clump of raspberry canes. These ones are quite a bit taller. We didn't beat these ones back as bad. I don't know if you can see that. They have little thorns on them. Not too bad, but my aunt's on blood thinner, so everything makes her bleed, so I have to deal with that. These are some artichokes my aunt grew. They're, let's see, I'm 5 feet tall, and that's, right about here. That's how tall I am. So they're, I don't know, 10 feet tall or something. One of them fell over there. They were pretty cool. Garden beds. It's her strawberry patch. We had problems with underground critters, moles or mice or something in here. And then more kale that survived. It's coming on now. I can really start feeding it to my rabbit because he turns everything into compost for me. And here's my gooseberry plant. I'm going to trim this back a bit this year. It's in a soft case, so I need to pick it up and move it around, make sure it hasn't rooted into the earth yet. And this is my asparagus. I dug around in it, and I do still have good roots in it. They're pretty thick, so this is what I'm going to put the compost in this and in my gooseberry plant. Alright. Dog on the prowl. Oh. Busy dog. Hi. Okay. Got my little pruners. They're my little ones. I don't know where my big ones are. Got some gloves. Gooseberries are thorny, little turds. Let's do some garden work. So this is interesting. There's all those big mountain ranges in the southwest of the US that were carved by water, rainfall. I don't know if you can see this. This is a molehill. All of these things are rocks. And all of the dirt washed away from under the rock. Next to the rock. So now there's these spires. Each one of these rocks is up on a little pillar of dirt because all the dirt washed away from around it, but the rocks and even this little piece of wood kept everything from washing away. Miniature geology. Kind of crazy. So this is a fir tree, the state plant of Oregon, and you can see these bright green batches. That's all this year's growth. Spring is here. And this is a spot where maybe 20 years ago a pot got dumped out. Now just a random patch of bulbs growing. And there's a blackberry. They're very, very weedy here. The birds eat the berries and spread the seeds. And then, wow, it's sunshiny. Sun isn't really something we get a lot in Oregon. Nah, we do, but it's kind of rain season right now. But anyway, a pot got tipped over, and here we are. Something cool to look at every spring. Alright, well, I got some chores done. Emptied my compost bin, rinsed out my compost bins. Well, it's two. I've got a veggie bin and a rabbit bin. Put some compost in my asparagus and my gooseberry, trimmed up my gooseberry, harvested some greens out of the garden for the rabbit. I swear, my rabbit eats healthier than I do. All in all, I mean, it's too wet to really do anything in the garden. If you dig in clay soil when it's wet, you end up with a bunch of rocks, like later on down the season. It needs to reach a certain amount of dry level before you can really do anything to it. Yeah, so not too bad. Got some stuff done. I probably did about an hour worth, including running around looking for tools. The little red-handled nippers weren't good enough for the gooseberry, so I had to go get my ratcheting ones, which are really good for my hands. Yeah, that's it. Happy spring.